Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the place you come to get those crucial insights from your source material, helping you get really informed without, all the overload. Today, we're taking a fascinating journey into Don Phondeaux's Compilations from a Don series. We're focusing specifically on one called Just Another Playlist. Now, you've given us a great set of sources, blog posts, reflections, even detailed track notes. And our mission today is to really unpack the inspiration, the evolution, and honestly, the deep personal growth that's woven into this whole musical story. Don Phondeaux, well, he's described as this creative force, right? Blending music, storytelling, cultural expression, always inviting you to experience sound and story through his pretty unique lens. It's marked by introspection, community, and this deep love for curation.
Yeah, and what's so interesting about the Compilations from a Don series, it's just not about playlists in the simple sense. It's more like a collection of these themed musical experiences, but they're combined with really personal essays. They really serve as a window into Don's world, a raw one. So these compilations, they don't just document the sounds he's picked, but also the lived experiences, the ambitions, the cultural moments that sparked them. I think today's deep dive into Just Another Playlist is really going to show us how music can be such a powerful mirror to our own inner journeys.
Okay, yeah. Let's unpack this then. We're going to trace the story behind Just Another Playlist, starting from what seems like simple beginnings, all the way to these quite profound reflections on life's complexities and, like you said, personal growth. So Don himself says, there was a time when music was, well, just music, when a playlist was just a playlist. It apparently started out as this effortless collection of tracks he just strung together while he was kind of lost in his stride. Totally consumed by the grind, he says,
Yeah.
with no deeper meaning, no weight to carry. And this is where it gets really interesting.
Exactly. That initial phase, it really was just background noise to this relentless pace he was keeping. But as Don kept pushing forward, he started to feel, and this is his phrase, the weight of everything I had ignored creeping up behind me. Connections started fading, solitude turned into silence, the days just sort of blurred together. He describes feeling trapped, like he was rushing toward a finish line that felt further away with every step. And there was no time to feel. No time to reflect, only time to keep moving. So that really sets the stage, doesn't it, for what Just Another Playlist actually became.
Right. So then, fast forward to when he wrote the blog post we looked at. He finds himself in what he calls familiar territory, I'm sure. He writes, turning pain into purpose is still a process, and the weight hasn't lifted. He talks about the summers growing colder, the nights stretching longer, and the silence growing louder. The path forward is still unclear, but he says he can't stop. He even states, the darkness is pure, but so is the light I can no longer see. And this compilation, Just Another Playlist, it was created to capture exactly that space, like a soundtrack for those moments when the mind wanders and the heart weighs heavy. Which, it brings up a really interesting question. Why create from that place, from such uncertainty?
That is a great question. It almost seems counterintuitive, right? But Don mentions finding a certain comfort in repetition, in keeping busy enough to maybe drown out the thoughts that threaten to break through. Still, he realized that even in motion, the echoes remain, like whispers of what was, reminders of what could have been. So the music, for him, it seems like it pulls him back. It's stitching together fragments of memory, kind of blending past and present into something that feels both distant and familiar. I mean, what this shows us is how creating something, even when it's raw, can be like an anchor when things are emotionally tough, turning that internal chaos into something tangible, a way to process. So the compilation becomes this space where time folds in on itself, where nostalgia and uncertainty walk hand in hand.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what does this mean for us then as listeners? Don describes Just Another Playlist as a collection of moments lost and moments found, a soundtrack for people still figuring it all out. Okay. For those who maybe feel like they've lost their way, who are pushing forward, but don't even know where forward really leads, it's not trying to be some grand statement, he says, just a reflection of where someone is at that moment. The sound of solitude turning to silence, the weight of time catching up, that journey forward when the path isn't clear. It sounds like music that lingers in the background but stays in your mind long after the last note fades. It feels very empathetic.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It really is. And if we connect this to the sort of the bigger picture here, Don's reflections when he revisited this compilation later on are super insightful. He listened to it again recently, not because he was back in that same dark place, but more to embrace where the journey had taken me. He notes the sound really caters to the hip-hop in me, he says, with these dark sounds that resemble what Joe Budden called mood music, which is a style, deep, often kind of somber, soulful instrumentals with the really introspective raps over them. These are sound stories of the madness brought to you by OGs in the game, like respected, established hip-hop artists. It's a mix of classics from his high school days and songs he connected with later during his studies.
And he points out this key shift in how he felt listening to it. The space is more or less the same, he says, but the major difference is the calm I carry.
Wow.
And that calm makes each song feel less gloomy. He actually found purity in this darkness.
What?
Emotions that he couldn't feel before were now being seen, acknowledged. That's a huge testament to personal growth, isn't it? It lets just another playlist stay relevant, like a fitting soundtrack for the journey. He even tells the story about playing it somewhere unexpected, like a trap house, and someone asked where he found the music. And his answer was simple but pretty deep. The music finds me. I was ready to receive it when it did. What a turnaround in perspective.
It really is.
Yeah.
And this whole idea of music finding you, that seems central now. For Don, it now means staying ready so that I don't have to get ready, letting go of the past so I can be open for more. His journey really highlights how powerful it can be to let things like music meet you where you are. It fosters this readiness for growth, for new perspectives, even when things are tough. And it transforms just another playlist from just a record of struggle into, well, just another release still meant to be enjoyed loudly. And you can really hear this journey in some of the tracks themselves.
Exactly. Yeah, to really get how these feelings and reflections are, like, baked into the sound. Let's unpack a few key tracks from Just Another Playlist. It kicks off with Just Another Song by A-Reece. And that one immediately captures that initial vibe, right? A-Reece and Flames on it too, they're airing out frustrations with a situation that's out of his control. Impressive flow, just going with it, very clear verbal pictures over this dark production.
Yeah, and what's cool is how each track adds another layer to the story. Take Don't Know by Maggz. That's apparently a longtime favorite of Don's. It covers the theme of infidelity and betrayal in full depth. It moves from remorse all the way to resentment, and it's all carried by this really silky, smooth, soulful production. It's quite an emotional journey in just one song.
Oh, yeah. Then there's O plus APA by M.I. Abaga. That one serves as this potent reminder of maintaining positivity even when hope wavers. God apparently was really struck by the complex rhymes delivering honesty, so briefly, concisely. And there's a short skit at the end that he says always shocks people. Gotta listen for that one.
Definitely. And then consider Weston Road Flows by Drake. That offers these reflections triggered by places you haven't seen or been to in a long time. We all know that feeling. It's got an impressive sample, deep, introspective lyrics and flows. It offers a breath of fresh perspective, as Don puts it. And finally, maybe Legendary by Wale from his classic album Ambition. That one's described as feeling like the rush that the hustle comes with. You get these poetically reflective raps delivered over a production that sounds like expensive drive, like cruising music, but thoughtful.
Right. And these tracks, along with others, I think Flashing Lights by Kanye is on there, Love I'm Good by Joe Budden too, they make up the full list. 13 songs total, all feeding into these core themes we've been talking about. So pulling it all together, what does this deep dive into Just Another Playlist really mean for you listening right now?
Well, I think the big takeaway is about embracing your journey, even, and maybe especially, when the path ahead isn't clear at all. This compilation, it acts almost like a companion for those times when you're moving forward, but you don't quite know where you're headed. It illustrates really beautifully that in the darkness, there's purity. In the repetition, there's comfort. What Dunn's journey really shows us is that profound insight that growth isn't always about getting rid of the darkness, but maybe about changing your relationship with it, finding that purity and calm with it. Ultimately, it feels like an invitation, doesn't it, to let the music find you and let yourself be open to what comes next.
That's a really powerful thought to take with you. How does music become a companion on your journey, especially when things feel uncertain? And what can it reveal about your own path? And well, that wraps up our deep dive into Don Phondeaux's Just Another Playlist. We've explored how what started as a simple collection of songs became this really profound reflection of personal growth, evolving from, a soundtrack of overwhelm to a companion of calm reflection and ultimately self-discovery.
Yeah, this whole exploration really makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What's your go-to song when you're feeling a bit lost, and what story does that song tell about your own journey as it unfolds?
For more stories, playlists, reflections like this, we definitely recommend you visit the Don's domain. That's at donphondeaux.com. You can explore the full compilations from a Don series there. Lots more curated journeys through sound and story. We really hope this deep dive has given you a fresh perspective, maybe even a new soundtrack for your own path forward. Enjoy loudly. Stay sound.